Hello everyone. Now we are going to study application of arithmetic operators. Now in this application we are going to write a code which is going to be a calculator. Now we are going to use a small calculator. This calculator is going to take two numbers from a user and is going to give you a solution of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulo. We're going to use our initial coding we see in this chapter, arithmetic operators, in order for us to see this. Now, let's continue. Now, in order for us to take numbers from the screen, or before we take the number from the screen, we are going to first go into our internal program and write a printf. Search and put two brackets. Now, when I write printf, I will tell my user that this program is used to calculate. This program is a calculator. Full stop. Then when I say this program is a calculator, I can go to the next line and say enter two numbers to be calculated. Now, when I ask him to enter two numbers to be calculated, I can put two dots. Now, I don't want that it goes to the next line. The next thing I can do, the first thing is to put my semicolon to break and go to the next line. Now, for me to take a number from a user on the screen, I need to use another function which is called the scanf. The scanf is going to read the number that the user is going to place on the screen. So it's going to wait for a certain minute and read the number that the user is going to place on the screen. So you have the scanf. Now, how do you use the scanf? The first thing is to put these quotes. Now, when you put the quotes, you say this, you tell the scanf which type of number do you want to scan or read. Now, you have to note that these numbers placed here int of a, it has to, the number that you have to take from the user must be of this type. Now, I am not going to use again this type because the person can place any number of any format. So I wish him to place a real number or integer value. So in order for me to consider all these, I will change these initial values to float. So I will change here and put a float. I'll come again down here and I put a float, or I can just leave int and then come here and consider here instead a1, because I've already converted their ints. I consider here a1 and I consider b1. Here I come to, I put b1, then I put a1, then 1 and 1, then 1 and 1, then 1 and 1. So all these are going to be the modulo. All these are going to be the values that are going to be calculated now, not from integers but from floats, in order to consider the decimal numbers. So when I do this, I tell the computer to scanf and put it in a variable which is of type float. In order to do it, I'll put a percentage here and I put an f to say that I'm putting in a variable of floating type. Then I put a comma, and when it's of floating type, I have to tell him which address will I have to place. I've told him already that I want to store a floating value. Now I want him to place into which address. Those are the questions. So the first thing is that I want him to place in the address of A1, because here I have to remove these two in order not to consider them again. So I have just declared the value of A1 and B1, so this will not be considered again. This line here, or this line will be removed from the initial code. So I'll just put A1 comma B1 here. Now when you have this, you continue now by saying that you want to take the number from the user. The first value you want to take will be A1. Now I'll also come here and put a comma, and it will be a percentage F again. Here I'll not put just A1, but I'll put in the address. I want that they should place in the address of A1, and this one should be placed in the address of B1. So I put my semicolon. This line is going to tell the user, is going to wait for the user to place two values. Now I want now to print the addition of the two numbers, the addition of numbers. The addition of number one plus number 2. So the addition of number 1 plus number 2 is, so I can just put an equal to sign. Is that I'll put now addition. The subtraction of number 1 here in this case was B1 and B2. I'll just put now, arrange and put A1, and here it will be B1. So I have the subtraction of number 1 minus number 2. So number 1 minus number 2 equals that. Here now the multiplication. The multiplication, number 1 times number 2 equals to, I place this, I remove this sign. I then do the whole number division. The whole number division, I remove all this. Number 1 divided by number 2 equals to, I put that. Now the remainder of division of that A B divided by A is, I put that. Now this true division will not exist again because the value are already converted to also floating types. So when I do this, I first cancel our first execution and I do it. It shows me a code problem. Error, invalid binary. So at the end of the code of our program, we're going to have this. So what happened is that you first start with by declaring your float of A1, B1, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulo. In this case, we are not going to have modulo because it's not involved with whole numbers. Now, we are going to have a printf. The printf, I said, is by default in my program to skip the top lines. Now, you are going to have this program is a calculator. Then I descend to one line and I tap, I enter again. enter two numbers to be calculated. So what happened is that on line 13 and line 14, you are asked to enter two numbers. The first number you are going to enter is going to be stored in the address of A1. The second number you are going to enter is going to be stored in the address of B1. Then you are going to do these operations. I'm telling the compiler to do this operation. Addition equals to A1 plus B1. Subtraction equals to A1 minus B1. Multiplication equals to that and that. And then I printed the addition is that, and I place the value of addition inside to be printed to the user. So when I do all this, my calculator will be shown as such. I build, I see no error, and I run. When I run, my avast shows. I tell him that there is no problem. I'm the one. I wait for my program to come, and it comes as such. This program is a calculator. Enter two numbers. So these two numbers to be calculated. I'll enter 400 and I'll enter my second number 700. These are my two numbers I entered. When I do this, I realize that addition will be number 1 and number 2 is going to give this. Subtraction is going to give a negative number this. Multiplication will give this one, and division will give this. So this is a small calculator you have integrated while using your C code. Thanks for your kind attention.